along. All right, so moving on, let's do a draft analysis segment with Tara Baron.
Should I go over the setup while Bacon gets ready? This was from one of my Hero League matches, I think a week and a half ago. We had it set up for last week, but we didn't get to it. It's on Warhead Junction. Friendly team is Morales, Leorc, Jaina, and Nubarak. The opposing team is Johanna, Thrall, Nazebo, Lili, and Li Ming.
Okay, so a brief little introduction. So everyone's going to give their own responses to their own level of play. So, for example, Tara Baron will speak to the bronze, silver type player, and I'll speak to the same. And Old Backpack will provide his plat level player perspective. We'll do Scott and Bacon for the master and grandmaster, and Hero Physio will talk about from a HGC perspective. All right, so obviously, I think we all agree that there needs to be like some type of auto attacker. But Hero Physio, how would you round out this team, the friendly team?
Probius.
Always Probius.
Yes.
All
right.
You leaned into the mic to say it's me.
Troll.
Moving on.
I'll save my answer to the end.
So basically, what you're saying is your team is going to be 8th place in the HGC in the upcoming season.
Holy shit.
But you know what? They'll be extremely confident and feel good after Hero Physio's pep talks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But okay, so back on point. So I think obviously we all think the same thing, that you need some type of auto attack damage, right?
Mm-hmm. No, not necessarily.
Oh, well, then what would you go with then?
So I'm going first. All right. Well, who I would go with is Hanzo, who isn't just strictly auto attack. Probably a lot of his damage is spell damage. He provides what I think the comp needs is range damage. He provides good wave clear for the map that's spread out. He's might be the best in the game at taking out bosses right now because his scatter shot is ridiculous damage, and he's got very good poke against the enemy team. So, and he's got a solid engage tool with his stun to allow for follow-up with Jaina's Ring of Frost and the tanks to engage on.
And who do you think has the better team matchup? Like, which team would you want to be on?
I'll take the allied team with Hanzo.
Oh, snap. What do you, I mean, I think also in this segment too, we should kind of discuss like what's the goal of the whole team comp for the enemies and the allied team. Obviously, look like to me the enemy team is going more like pokey, for sure. And then with Hanzo, it looks like you're saying you want to go for more of a like burst damage, right? Or what?
Well, no, Hanzo provides a ton of poke as well. He's not just burst damage. And he's very good at clearing the map, at getting mercenary camps and to apply pressure on different areas of the map, as well as just being really good at team fighting.
But do you think maybe the enemy team has a better poke than the allied team?
No, I think Hanzo can match Li Ming's. Especially on the middle, if you're fighting in the middle areas, there's a lot of walls for Hanzo to get scatter shots off of.
Now, what about, I was thinking like if you're in silver level, I think Chromie would be a really good fit here. Because you have the better healer for more sustained poke, fights, right? And I think because of the Morales, and I think if you have a competent, Chromie player, that you could actually do more damage to everyone. Yeah.
Warhead's a bit rough.
Yeah, I don't know about that exactly. But I would go, if we're talking about the Silver League and stuff, I would actually go Falstad. It looks to me like this comp, since it's a big map, can maybe have an advantage in terms of the global or semi-global that Falstad has. And also, I think having a Nubarak on your team definitely is going Cocoon on maybe the Lili or the Johanna, maybe to kind of dive them more. I think Falstad is who I'd pick here.
It seems like if you go Falstad, you're just trying to out macro them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's who I'm thinking right now.
That's a viable strategy on Warhead Junction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So You could definitely do that for sure.
So if you notice, their pitch potential is pretty bad. If Thrall shows on map, no one can gank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and with Falstad, you have boss control.
Yep.
Points too.
All right, so Hero, what do you think?
All right, so looking at these two compositions, you have to consider the battleground and the size of the battleground. Warhead Junction. You guys think globals are the way to go? Something that you should think about when you fill out a team is the laning situation. Okay, so looking at the other team, they've got Li Ming, Lili, Nazeebo, Thrall, and Johanna. You can make a pretty educated guess as to how they're going to fill out those lanes. Most of the time, Warhead Junction, you play either a 1-3-1, 1-1-3, or in some cases a 2-1-2, right? So knowing that they're going to split, most likely we'll say Thrall takes one, Nazeebo takes one, and that you might be left with a 3-man like Li Ming, Lili, and Johanna. What do you have so far? You've got Jaina, who can solo lane fairly well. She can match Nazeebo anywhere. You've got Leoric, who's one of the better solo laners right now. And now you've got Morales and Anubarak. So pairing that with anybody who has auto attack, consistent siege damage will automatically win you a 3-man lane. Anubarak can burrow in, soak shots with his beetles. After they clear the wave, they go ahead and start taking towers. So this could be anybody like Vala, Lunara, Zul'jin, even the Hanzo. The Hanzo is actually a really good pick overall anywhere, but any auto attacker. And you can basically just walk into that 3-man, walk into their 2-man, and just start taking towers while your solo lanes are being held, right? You've got a solid Jaina for wave clear, doesn't lose the lane. She can poke out the nukes. You've got a solid Leoric in the other lane, and your 3-man just face rolls the other lane. So I gave you like 4 options there. Yeah.
Okay.
I would have said Greymane.
I was saying Greymane Vala as well.
Yeah, I would have said
Yeah, any auto attacker.
Greymane's always a good pick.
Hero Physio, who do you think's got the edge? I think you like the blue team. I think you said has a significant advantage.
I would definitely go with the blue team here.
Which team's the blue team?
Top team. Yeah, allied team.
Yeah, the allied. That's the Morales, the Leoric. I mean, with any auto attacker, you basically win the lane, so it's up to the enemy team now, the red team, to start figuring out how to respond to that. Do they just ignore your lane now? Do they go for their own mercenary camps? Do they go for their own boss pushes, split another lane? But you've already got that consistent fast clear. And if that's Greymane, if that's Vala, Lunara, you just start burning through all those towers.
So every time I see like a Jaina comp as the primary mage, I always think of burst comps. Is that like incorrect or?
Not necessarily. She definitely has the burst. You have the Anubarak set up on it as well. So you could definitely fill it out with somebody else who has more burst. But Vala, Greymane, Zul'jin, Hanzo, they all have burst damage follow-up. In addition to that consistent poke damage that has finishing potential too, right? They're all just really good assassins right now. Seeing the Jaina too, she's got a few different builds where she can actually build to be more of a, I guess, more consistent slow damage poke mage until she needs to go in for that burst. So I wouldn't consider her purely a burst mage. There's a couple other hidden synergies in here as well because you have the Jaina and because you have the Leoric. There are a lot of slows here, right? And even the Anubarak has acid drenched mandibles where even he becomes an auto attack beast. So pairing this with, again, Lunara, somebody with Executioner, you end up getting a big power spike at level 13, so you can start to play off of that, try to time a boss at level 13 so that you just do insane damage because the boss slows on top of this if you're taking a fight underneath the boss. So those are the kind of things that you start to think about. How do I help the team, but how does the team help some of my talents as well?
So I actually have just an overall question. Is drafting kind of like chess in that if you're the white player, you dictate the action of the gameplay. So, for example, if you're the first team drafting, you're dictating what the draft's going to be, and then it's up to the defending or the enemy team to adapt their team to what you're doing.
Absolutely. The draft itself, and then the execution of it, the gameplay of it too. I'm not giving anything away, but I talk a lot to my team about having initiative and forcing moves. If you play chess, if you play Go, if you play any kind of competitive game, you have to have enough initiative or enough of a threat to force a reaction from the other team. If I threaten your queen, but you threaten game, which one is the bigger threat? Who has the more initiative?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So you're constantly making queen all the time, right? You're constantly making those propositions. I'm threatening to take this. What's your response? Right. And then it becomes a back and forth.
Okay. That's great for competitive, but how would that apply to Hero League? Because, you're only one pick, you're playing with 4 other strangers. And granted, if you're Master, Grandmaster, you definitely run into friendly faces more often than the other leagues. But still, you're only one pick and you're not on comms with 4 other players. How much can you influence a draft in that sense?
So last pick is the best pick, right? I think because you see everything, right? You can decide what you choose to deny or how you choose to put pressure on. Right now, you could take somebody who's fantastic at merc camps and all you do is take merc camps. You could choose somebody that is a stealth and just decides to hunt somebody down, right? You get to dictate what tools you bring and how you're going to put pressure on them. So if you decide to go Nova right now, honestly, that's not bad, right? Fringe thinks this is a burst comp. We have a Nubarak, Jaina. If Nova opens up on somebody, you might just get that pick. And that's how your team's going to win. But whatever you decide to bring to the table, you have to make sure that you're bringing some sort of initiative, some threat, something to the table that the enemy team either has to respond to, or else you've picked something that they'll just ignore.
So would you say to stray away from, because one of the big advices that people receive in Hero League is pick your comfort heroes and just spam your comfort heroes, but that your line of advice kind of goes into pick a larger range of heroes, that way you're more flexible in draft, but that also means you're picking heroes that you're not that good with sometimes.
What I'll say is if your goal is to rank up in Hero League, you should be practicing heroes that have certain skill sets that bring some sort of threat to the table, right? If you're grinding Hero League right now and you're maining something like Greymane Hanzo as ranged assassin, either way, you have team fight, you have poke, you have mercenary clear, right? Those are the heroes that bring a lot to the table, is the ones that have multiple skills and multiple ways to bring threats to a team composition, right? Those are the ones that are considered tier S, where they generally fit within most compositions and bring the most to the table. If your comfort pool consists of mostly, we'll call it tier 4, pocket pick, niche situational heroes, right? Then maybe you should think about whether or not you're giving yourself the best chance or the best tools to rank up.
Was I the only one that noticed that when Hero Physio said last pick is the best pick, that's completely opposite in Hero League. Last pick is the worst pick because it means you usually have to be like support. The healer. Yeah, support.
I love being last pick. It's my favorite spot.
It's a little bit different in the higher levels.
But yeah. But for the enemy team, are they just trying to poke nonstop? Is that basically what their job is? What they were trying to do is just poke nonstop and have Johanna peel for them if there's any type of engage? Like, if you're the red team, what are you trying to do?
Win the game.
I mean, I actually had a question about that too with Johanna. Won't the blinds affect the lane at all if you pick an auto attack damager because of her blinds?
1.5 seconds. Not a long blind.
All right, so it's not that big of an effect. All right.
Nah.
Yeah, Lily's got to get pretty close for the blind too. For the most part, I don't think she's going to be in auto attack range is probably going to be Johanna. Who's going to be in auto attack range when you're during the laning phase.
And let's say between Lily and Johanna overlapping, I mean, like chaining together blinds, that's like, what, 3 seconds of blind? But how often are you going, okay, I'll blind now, and you blind in 4 seconds? Like, that shit never happens. So,
okay.
Unless it happens in HGC, but, you know, that's outside of our level.
Okay. All right. Well, anything else?
Wait, so who's the hero that was selected?
So who did Bacon suggest first?
You said Greymane or Vala.
Okay.
Yeah. Those would be my picks, yeah.
Yeah. What was really picked in this match was Sylvanas.
Interesting.
Interesting. I don't know.
Sylvanas could be good on that map.
It was all right.
For the early game push.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It could be okay. It's not ideal, but it's okay.
No problem that Sylvanas will lane versus Lily and they'll proc her trait constantly.
Oh. Well, shit. Fuck you, Silver 4 player. You've ruined it.
That's what this was all about.
But then again, you just ignore the bad lanes and just push with your trait, and that's very effective.
I think it's
in the gold levels.
To be honest, I'd rather not know what the pick was. You know, because it doesn't really matter.
I have to know.
Okay.
Gotta know.
Did you end up winning?
I think we ended up winning. Yeah, winning.
All right.
Were you Leoric?
Stronger. Of course I was Leoric.
All right. I had to make sure.
All right. First of all, I don't lose with Leoric, so you shouldn't even ask if we won or not. But...
All right. So let's move on. Thank you for all the good feedback. So let's move on to the first annual Bronze Baron Bushies.